Hey everyone, I'm actually thrilled today to have one of my nearest and dearest coworkers from my time at Google joining me to have a conversation for where do we go from here. I'm really excited. Her name's Kim Snow. She was a creative director for over a decade before she ended up joining Google and working also as a creative director in various capacities. And I had the great fortune of working with her on many projects. So I'm really excited to have Kim here today. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Amy. It's so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Kim, do you think you could take a couple of seconds to tell us a little bit more about yourself, the work that you do, and to give the viewers at home a bit of a sense of all the amazing work that you do?
I would love to. So my entire career has been in advertising in some form or another. I actually started off in a very small agency that did all traditional media, and then evolved into the whole dot bomb and learned kind of the ropes in the digital space. And then eventually ended up at Digitas, which was during probably, I'd say, its heyday. So I learned a ton of things. My background's actually as a writer. So it was really great to get into the world of digital and making and tech and all this loveliness. And so that's kind of what set me up to get into the Google space, which at the time I was like, why does Google need creative directors? I don't get it. And now I get it a lot because so much of what Google does is translating kind of their products and their reach and their data to creative agencies and creative ideas. And they really do need people, I think, who get it, who get how agencies work and creatives work. And the team I'm on right now, I think the sheer nature of it is a testament to how everything's changing, because my whole team's about creative effectiveness. Like, what makes people pay attention to the ads out in the world? 10 years ago, I never would have thought a creative director would be on a team like that. There's a lot of data, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of thought leadership that comes out of it. And yet it's so creative at its core. So it's a really interesting time. It's a different skill set, I think, for a creative director to have, but I love it. It's really fun because I do feel like the stuff we learn is so helpful and useful to my fellow creatives. So crazy days and always more to learn on my end.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited to have you on the program today, because you're by far one of the smartest people I know.
Oh my God, that's so nice.
As
Thank you.
well as one of the most creative people I know. Actually, I really am excited to have this conversation because, when I think about creativity and when I think about communication, advertising, reaching people, and then all of a sudden this crazy pandemic, right? And the way that we communicate, the way that we act with each other, are with each other in physical spaces,
Yeah.
has entirely changed. So can you tell me a little bit about what's been the impact on the way you guys think about creativity and communication?
Oh my God. So, it's so interesting because there are so many kind of other things that were happening. So, just, in addition to suddenly all of us working remotely, a lot of our clients, some were starting to really shine. Some just kind of hit the ground running. If you made hand sanitizer, suddenly you were doing really well. If you were making, delivery pizza, that was great too. And some industries really just kind of came to a complete halt, like auto. And so a lot of what we had to do was react to that. Things started going very fast, but things were also very slow. And so kind of combining those things, I would have to say as an industry, we kind of lost our minds. And that was no more evident than in all the COVID ads that came out. I would say every brand felt like they had to do one. And within 2 weeks, the general community at large, just human beings on YouTube, were making fun of them. They were imitating them. Trying times like these, like plunkety piano, and we just lost our minds. Like, we lost our creativity. We weren't sure where to go.
Right.
And so everyone kind of had to dig their way out of that and say, wait, everyone snap out of it. Snap out of it, guys. Like, we're still in advertising. We still have stories to tell. Not everything is so desperate and precious. And I would say that is probably the other big pivot coming out of this is the role of advertising and how, we love to win our awards and be recognized by our peers. And suddenly it had never been more desperate to sell products.
Mm-hmm.
I work very closely with a big beauty brand. Nobody's schmying around Sephora anymore. Nobody's just going to be like picking up 45 minutes at their lunch break, you know, and looking at all the products. So what do they do with their, you know, with getting out there in a way that's comfortable for them? So there were a lot of pivots, I think, for us creatively. And it really was a reaction as well, I think, to how our clients, you know, had to step up and rise to the challenge.
And did you see like immediate malaise when there was like so much COVID? Like, I mean, for yourself as a consumer, how did you feel
Oh
about?
my God. It was too much, because it's such an interesting thing in advertising in general. We're always like, don't tell me a thing, like show me or demonstrate or bring me into the world of this moment. And all the COVID ads were like, there's COVID happening. Look, it's COVID. Like, there was no invitation into the world. The one industry that actually really rose to the occasion and really just, they were at the right place at the right time, and they really leaned into the brands, was pizza delivery. Because that's what everyone was doing. We were at home. We wanted comfort food. We wanted food to get to us that humans hadn't necessarily touched. And all the brands, from Little Caesar to Domino's, even Pizza Hut, they stayed within their tone. They knew where they belonged. They didn't have to rethink about in these trying times. They were just like, hey, remember us? We make delicious food that's going to come to your door. Isn't now the perfect time for it? And it was great. And when you saw those ads, which I think they weren't really, it's not like they're going to win a Cannes Lion, but they felt so refreshing. It felt like normal life. It felt like something really appropriate, versus the surround sound of just reminding me all the terrible things that are going on. So yeah, so in some ways, I think it was just, in certain industries were more capable of doing it than others.
Right. You know, and then this kind of really brings me to the next point, is now that we're seeing, you know, this kind of major impact on the way we communicate, the way that we're talking to consumers, the way that brands are thinking about connecting. What do you think are going to be some short-term, long-term implications of that? Like, what's going to come out of this? Like, what should we expect?
Yeah, there's the two biggest things that I can think of, which might turn into three as I start talking, is how we work together as creatives. Working in the creative world is very collaborative. It's very person to person, and there's something laborious about it. Like, you're sitting in a room for hours coming up with ideas. You're working so hard, and to somehow separate us and throw us into all these separate places where we miss out on the passing comment during the day where someone just throws an idea to you and you just kind of riff on it, and the coffee down the hallway that leads to an idea. I think we have to figure out how to do that, you know, remotely, because I mean, I don't think we're going to be all even sitting in the same room together in the same way. You know, and so how do we get a little scrappy, and how do we get creative and get comfortable with that? So that's definitely, that's one thing. One good thing though, is now our creative teams are truly global. Now you don't have to just sit with your friends in New York. You can reach out to anybody and brainstorm. And so I think finding those opportunities will go a long way. I think the second thing is how we produce work. So that was also of an immediate impact, was we can't shoot anything. Holy crap. Are our consumers going to tolerate used footage, B-roll, things we've already made? And the answer was like, yeah. Like, yes, they will.
Oh, wow.
And so I think, and we already knew, I think it's in the spirit of YouTube and digital that, you know, organic feeling content does really great. Stories do great. And so a lot of the brands that would normally do these beautiful big productions, and don't get me wrong, it's really fun to make a nice big production. Suddenly we're just using what they had, and it was working. And so I also think the impact to the production industry, which is, do we really need to put all our dollars into this one big thing? You know, can we be more efficient? And so I think you're going to be seeing a different perspective on how things are made, what we're using. Even maybe once you do have shoots again, how can we get as much content as possible that lasts us, you know, with great flexibility the next year or so, so we don't have to keep going out, you know, week and month and all that kind of stuff. So in a lot of ways, it's the making, I think, that's going to have, you know, have a lot of impact. Oh, and here's the third thing I was going to say, which was also, the making leads to the selling. Like, we love to be the big creative stuff, but never before have our brands needed to push product. And a lot of them weren't used to selling online in the same way. They weren't used to the tools that would help them do that. They felt like it wasn't for them if they were so premium, et cetera, et cetera. So it's also us kind of, again, that collective slap across the face, which is to say, we sell things. Like, and let's figure out how to use all the tools in our toolbox and all the creativity that we've always had to do just that, not just making, you know, stories for the sake of stories.
You called out pizza delivery brands, but were there any other brands that you can think of that just did it right? Like that followed some of this, using some footage that existed, that really shifted to a cell focused, mindset that really worked? Because I'd love to link it below, and I'm curious what you thought worked really well.
Yeah, I think a lot like well some beauty brands did it really well because they started to lean into, and I will have to find this too because I was like, who's going to be the first beauty brand who realizes that lips are out and eyes are in, we all have masks on,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so really kind of be like embracing the trends, and embracing that. And I feel like beauty also has the best ability to use past content, and so we were really trying to get everyone comfortable with just changing the supers, just changing the VO, just changing kind of the flow of the story. We don't need to reshoot. You have all these great assets of humanity, and we know they're going to work. So, and I think beauty had the furthest to go really, because they had to get people, I mean, out of browsing stores and into thinking that not only do they want these products, but also if you're, out of a job, is that the first place you're going to spend your money? And we still wanted people to see that there was a reason to do that in the beauty space. So I think they were kind of kicking down doors. I think you could always look at movies and any kind of entertainment. I mean, anything that was streaming was like, oh my god, it's our time to shine.
Yeah,
Anything that was in a studio or supposed to be in a movie theater was like, oh my god, what do we do?
right.
And so I think they were really I think there's some interesting examples there of the storytelling, the connecting, the pulling people in, etc.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch Mulan on Disney Plus, right? Like that's going to be a new thing for me, like a movie that's premiering on a streaming platform that I'm actually going to pay for, right? Like I'm really excited to see how that works.
This is the difference between you and me, because I was excited to see the new Bill and Ted movie, which I watched this weekend, and it was amazing. So we both have things that we love that are that are coming out that should have been in the theater but are now just in our homes.
I love you. So it kind of brings me to the, eponymous question, right? Where do we go from here? Like, what is the advice that you have for creatives, creative people, people who work in creative industries where you have to
Yeah.
collaborate or sit in a room and ideate? What are some of the thoughts that you have, thinking towards the future?
Yeah, I think overall, we just have to be more ready for anything. I think we all were really shocked by how stuck in our ways we were,
Right.
from brands who were so used to always just having one voice and suddenly needing to respond to something that was so global and tragic and not knowing what to say, like not knowing what their opinions were, all the way to us as creatives being like, I don't know how to do this if we're all in separate rooms, to production teams saying, oh my God, I can't bring a camera somewhere. Like, what do I do? And so we all I'm really hoping that reset got us all into this more fluid kind of space. I know, for example, a lot of the stuff on my team that we do with brands and clients fell under the category of a workshop, which can be an hours long in-person thing. Now we're all pivoting to office hours, an hour, 45 minutes, just in a video chat, and we'll solve the problems much quicker and faster and more fluidly. And so I think finding a comfort level, creatives they feel like if it didn't feel like a big giant project that ruined their entire weekend, that it wasn't worth it. And so I think we have to get a little bit okay with, we can have great impact in a 30-minute conversation,
Right.
in these smaller bits. And because I was able to help you sell a product, online that hadn't been sold there before to great success, reaching new audiences should be just as awesome as the Super Bowl ad, which, so change is afoot, but hopefully in a good way. Hopefully it's kind of a nice shakeup for everyone, including the brands, as to what we stand for, what we talk for, how we work together. And certainly we always say on my team here, follow the audience. They'll tell you what they want and what they need. So listening a lot more to kind of the trends and behaviors that are out in the world.
And I'm trying to do that with this program, is trying to understand like
Yes.
what people want to hear about, right? And
Uh-huh.
it's been very interesting for me to get that feedback. And I also love this thing that Ben always used to say, right? Like creativity loves constraints, right? So it's
Yes.
true.
Yeah, we freaked out with constraints, and now I think it's the most freeing thing, and I think that's exactly what people are seeing. And I just hope we stay that path. I hope we stay the path of, we don't get comfortable again too quick, because I think it's, again, good for us and good for the storytelling.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Kim. This has been such an interesting
Sure.
conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, bye.